A deal on Dickens, who could resist? A stack of Austen, warmly kissed. Golden Age crime tales twist and turn, every page a treasure to learn. Books keep coming home with me, piles so tall they're all I see. Turn a page and sail the sea, reading always feels so free.
Hi, my name is Talia. Welcome to Talia Nerds Out. Guys, I am on a tear. I have energy. I'm going with it. Book review tear. As I mentioned in previous video, this kind of energy will probably end up in a huge crash, which means I'll probably be like a zombie when tomorrow happens. But I love having this level of energy. I've recorded too many times where I'm just kind of like going through the motions. So when I have this energy, I'm just going to jump into it and go. So, Adrian Goldsworthy, The Punic Wars. This was a buddy read I did with, he is not a fellow booktube. Oh, here he goes. C. Irvin. He's involved with Historathon as a viewer and on the Discord. And he contacted me on the Discord when I mentioned that I was going to be doing Adrian Goldsworthy, Punic Wars. Now, he had the published title, which I believe is the later published title, which is The Fall of Carthage. And, of course, it has on the back the famous quote from Cato the Elder. Carthage must be destroyed. And this one always sticks with me because anytime he would go to a meeting, whether or not it applied, he would like punctuate with and Carthage must be destroyed. I didn't actually like Cato the Elder that much. Cato the Younger, I kind of felt a bit more of respect for because he was known for his honesty. I mean, he was definitely a hardliner where it's point like he was rigid. But, I mean, they used to say as honest as Cato. Didn't get the feeling about this Cato, especially when he was dealing with Scipio Africanus. He told some outright lies, as it turns out, when people would look into Scipio, when they would investigate him based off of Cato's claims, they would find out there was no truth to Cato's claims, which is a striking opposition to his son, Cato the Younger, which I found jarring because I'm so used to thinking of Cato as like kind of being this moral. I mean, that was who they looked at. Like, well, I mean, as honest as Cato, but not this Cato. Now, I believe that this Cato the Elder was a new man, much in the way that Cicero was a new man, which meant that, you know, he came up kind of like when you think of the new rich, or if you look at the Regency era, you had the guys who were in trade and then they managed to work their way up to being landed gentry, or they'd get knighted or something, that kind of thing, where eventually they got themselves into the class that was able to be in politics and all that. That's where the Ciceros and the Cato the Youngers, they were still kind of looked down upon for being new men, but I think that's why Cato the Younger kind of acted in some of the ways that he did to try to get himself more popular. But I don't know how lying on Scipio Africanus really helps you unless you're just trying to cozy up to his enemies, which he did have, because in Roman society, if you're doing too well, people start getting jealous. I mean, I guess that holds throughout human society, unfortunately. But this is an Adrian Goldsworthy book, which automatically means that this is pretty good. You know, it's awesome. I enjoy Adrian Goldsworthy. He's very much, I feel like he tends to give you the facts without inserting a ton of his own opinions, which is what first drew me to him in the first place. I either got on free Audible credit or I listened to via the Libby app his book on Antony and Cleopatra. That was my first introduction to him. And I enjoyed him so much. And what first caught my attention is that he made a point of saying that he was not going to state as fact the various different stories about Cleopatra and Antony. He was going to make it clear what things were stories, what things were theories, what things they didn't know about. And one of my biggest pet peeves about history books is when they present theory or opinion as fact. So that drew me to Agent Goldworthy immediately. And I want to say I have most of his books now, if not all of them, in some format or another. I tried to get most of them on hardback, but I don't think, like, for example, I have Antony and Cleopatra. I think I still only have that either Audible, Kindle, or both. I can see potentially wanting to get that one hardback as well, but thoroughly enjoyed this. At the beginning, it was a little bit harder than later on. Once I started getting to the Second Punic War, I got, you started running into some of the more recognizable figures like Hannibal. You start seeing Scipio Africanus. There's just, the First Punic War, interesting. Second Punic War, there was a lot more there. And then even I remember things about the Third Punic War from previous books. Probably from my book, Intelligence Activities in Ancient Rome, Trust in the Gods but Verify. Some of these things I remember from, some of the things to do with the Punic Wars I remember from that book. Mostly the Second and Third Punic War. Not so much the First Punic War, which was not done on Roman ground. I think mostly that book touched on aspects of the Second Punic War because so much more of it was on Roman land. Although I want to say they did the third one to a certain extent as well. But yeah, this was quite an interesting book. I don't think I tabbed a whole lot. I wasn't doing a lot in the right way of writing notes in it either. I had like things that I highlighted that I found interesting, but not so much I wrote notes on. I do appreciate C. Irvin for, I'm probably saying that wrong, for doing this as a buddy read with me. I think that this was very fun. I did think it was interesting. I kept thinking throughout this that Carthage would do something, then be surprised that Rome would stick it out. And I kept writing in the margins, Rome is built differently. Like, Rome didn't think, like, the Romans didn't think like everyone else. Everyone else is like, yeah, we're going to fight to a certain point, and then you guys are just going to give up, right? And then we'll go back to status quo until the next time, and then, we'll go back to status quo. And Rome's like, nah, I'm going to fight till I win, and preferably till you either submit to the point of absolutely degrading yourself or I destroy you. And it was just interesting watching because each time you'd have people like Hannibal being like, what, they haven't given up yet? What? Why haven't they given up yet? Like, we would have given up long before that. What's with these Romans? And that was just something I noticed time and time and time again. It'd be like, why? What's wrong with them? Why? And also, like, it was like Carthage had very much more of a laid back, like, there were points where they could have taken, until you got Hannibal, they could have taken initiative, and they didn't. Whereas Rome would be like, yeah, let's go for this thing. Let's do this. It was like, think of that kind of like that upstart. That would be like, or like the brawler. That's kind of like what Rome was like, what? We're not licked till, we're not ever going to be licked. We're going to be fighting till the other guy falls. And that's basically what they did. And it was just really funny. Like, every time it was like, and the Carthaginians were like, why haven't Rome given up yet? I'm like, because Rome's built differently. Like, everyone. It wasn't till the end that you really started seeing, until they realized that, oh, Carthage itself is gonna fall. Then you started seeing some of that Roman spirit developing where you're like, okay, no, we're gonna do everything not to fall. But it's like too little too late, guys. Like, you waited too long. If you had this spirit back when this first started, maybe you guys wouldn't be in this position right now. It was just very interesting to read. I kept being hit again and again, just how differently the cultural mindset was between Carthage and Rome. Just that Rome didn't see giving up, or Rome didn't see losing in the long run as an option. Carthage thought that, okay, well, we lose, but, it's not like it's going to be a big deal. We just sort of, we'll do this again later. I mean, because Greek city-states were always fighting among each other. So it's like, that was just the Greek status quo. So Carthage was expecting Rome to act Greek and was gobsmacked every time that Rome didn't act Greek. So it was just interesting. Yeah, there are so many interesting characters, especially when you get to the Second Punic War, the Third Punic War. So many interesting people that you end up meeting. But yeah, I think that the cultural differences is just interesting and striking. In spite of the fact this is not a book focused on biography, which is usually what I tend to prefer, is something that's a little bit more biographically focused. But Rome itself has a personality, which is interesting. That definitely it's very diametrically opposed to Carthage, which is it's so interesting. How they make wars differently is different, but also how they make use of intelligence. It's just very, very, I would recommend checking this book out. I probably should make more of an effort to maybe get an Adrian Goldworthy book in until I make it through it, maybe one each quarter one, just because I do enjoy his books every single time, and I have several of them that I haven't read yet. But yeah, the Punic Wars, also known as the Fall of Carthage. Carthage must fall. I'm sorry, Carthage must be destroyed. I'm sorry, Cato. Carthage must be destroyed. Carthage must not just fall. Carthage must be destroyed. Thank you very much for joining me. Hope that you have a great day. And I will see you for the next video. God bless. Bye.
Books keep coming home with me. Piles so tall, they're all I see. Turn a page and sail the sea. Reading always feels so free.